Hi everyone, it's Sketcher Fashion Drawing Tutorials, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this sketch where I depicted two looks from Versace Spring 2020 ready-to-wear collection. And here we have actually one of our patrons, Andrea, and her family. Thank you, Andrea, and all of my patrons for your support. In this exact part I wanted to show how I made this skin tone by mixing three colors of ProMarker skin palette. Here I'm not going to draw the outline as I usually do, so I try to get rid of all the pencil lines so I don't smudge them. So depending on how carefully you draw, you can leave as much or as little pencil. I start with Almond ProMarker, and I added this color swatch so you can take a look at how that marker color looks like in case you're using different brand. So I'm using Almond to show to start with the shadows, to show the shape of the face, and I try to be very careful because every time you add shadow you show a hole on the face, and if you have too much of shadows your face becomes way too bony, and that's not that good looking. So I'm showing the nose bridge. I'm leaving this uncolored space between those two lines. That's the top of the nose bridge. Next I'm using Dusky Pink, which is a bit darker. Both Almond and Dusky Pink, they have that pink pigment. They're a bit closer to pink than to yellow. So with the Dusky Pink I'm showing the darker shadows. So nose bridge closer to the eyebrows, then shadows under her hair, base of the cheekbones, bottom of her nose. So now I'm using Almond again to show nostrils, to outline her face. So Almond is my main color. I'm using Ivory, which is a bit closer to yellow, and it's the lightest from the skin palette of ProMarker. And I'm using it to show the highlights of the face, and it's really nice sometimes to mix different hues, like a bit pinkish and yellowish, so together gives interesting look. So I'm trying to work a bit faster so markers don't dry, so they blend a little bit with each other. Every time I draw a new detail I try to start with Almond because it's in the middle, it's a mid-tone. And Dusky Pink I'm using for some darker shadows. So here with Almond I'm showing this lower eyelid. Everything that I want to show, like nostrils, but I want them to be super strong. Usually when you draw huge nostrils, it just makes a bit at the face rougher, or more rough. Yeah. In illustration, usually it's like that. That's why I'm not showing that much the wings of the nose. Now I'm using purple pencil because we are having a lighter skin tone and purple works the best in my opinion. I'm showing the shadows under her nose, showing some details like the shape of the nose, adding extra shadows like to show the nose bridge, to show that's really like the shape of it. And then I can add a bit to show the shape of the lower eyelid. Pencil is perfect for giving the details, because when we use marker we just give the shape but we don't show the details. Everything is very blurred. So pencil lets us to intensify the shadows and to draw some details. Like for example, you see that shadows under her lips. It's not just shadows, it also implies the round shape of the chin. So now I can actually outline the face with a pencil with the soft strokes. I use Sakura Micron 005, which is quite thin, to apply makeup. I'm showing this eyeliner. And because I want to keep that bit darker look that my illustrations usually have, even if I don't outline recently the whole body, I still want this really dark facial features with high contrast, like eyebrows, eyes, lips. I also show nostrils. Also with nostrils, try to draw them like a tiny drops, not like just lines, or don't make them too big, especially for the facial feature for which bigger nostrils are not natural. Like if you draw Asian looking model, probably nostrils won't be that big, and maybe for Latin or African model you'll draw them a bit bigger, so take into account the ethnicity also. Also depends. Some people might belong to one ethnicity but have some different features as well. For the lips, I usually just keep some highlights by not coloring, like leaving some spots. I hope you're watching in a full screen mode, because you'll see the details. The bigger the screen, the better. If you feel like, especially with the eyes, sometimes it's a bit hard to draw eyes that are like that are looking in the same direction. So if you have any problems, you always can use white ink pen, color the iris, and just start again. So with the almond, I'm just adding extra shadows. I'm making this right side a bit darker. It's also nice to have asymmetry in everything, like in hairstyle, in clothing, and also in shadowing, to have one side lighter and the other side a bit darker. So I'm using ivory. It doesn't add that much shadows, but I'm adding this transition between light and darker area. So just coloring on the borders. And now I'm using brown pencil to show some makeup. You can push harder closer to the eyelid line and then push less as you go closer to the eyebrows. So you like, again, build the gradient. The dusky pink. Now I'm adding some details, showing the relief of your body. Also here we have some jewelry. You can use dusky pink to show the shadows just along the lower edge of the jewelry. And ivory. So basically I'm using 3 colors for the skin. Ivory is the lightest, then the main one almond, and then the last one, dusky pink, it's the darkest. So I'm using ivory for highlights. Sometimes I color it from the lightest side, because on the top of almond, even on the left side, because it gives warmth. And if I imagine that light source is warm, then I can add something yellowish. I'm adding warm gray 3 to show shadows, and we're done with the first part. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I actually expect you to start mixing several markers to show the skin. And I hope that you are going to use this method in your upcoming sketches. See you very soon.